The Mali Empire, also known as the Manding Empire or Mandan Kurufa, was a West African civilization originating from the Mandinka people in the Middle Ages around the 1235th century until the 1610th century. This empire was founded by Sundiata Keita. The Mali Empire was also famous for the wealth of its ruling kings, most notably King Mansa Musa I. This empire had a great influence on West African culture, as it spread the language, laws, and customs practiced in the area to other areas along the Niger River. At the height of its glory, officials and rulers in the Mali Empire were bestowed with the honorary title of what was then known as the most noble and richest ruler of all rulers. The Empire of Mali covered an area larger than Western Europe and consisted of various puppet kingdoms and was divided into provinces. The history of the name of the kingdom. Mandan was the area where the Mali Empire began and flourished. The name Mandan was derived from the inhabitants of that time who were nicknamed Mandinka, Mandanaka with Ka, meaning people, which consisted of modern northern Guinea and southern Mali. The empire originally existed as a Mandinka federation called the Mandan Kurufa, literally the Mandan Federation, but this federation later developed into an empire that ruled over millions of people from almost every possible ethnic group in West Africa. Etymology. The origin of the name Mali Empire is still debated in scientific circles around the world. Although the name Mali is still debated, there is no doubt about the process by which the name entered the regional vocabulary. As mentioned above, the Mandinkas in the Middle Ages referred to their ethnic homeland as Mandan. Among the many different ethnic groups surrounding Mandan are groups of Pular speakers in Messina, Tekrur and Fouta Djallon. In the Pular language, Mandinka from Mandan becomes Malink from Mali. Although the Mandinkas generally refer to their land and provincial capital as Mandan, Fulan, semi-nomadic Malian subjects living in the west of the country's central region Tekrur, south, Fouta Djallon, and eastern borders Messina, popularized the name Mali for the kingdom. This which later became the empire in the Middle Ages. 2. Brief history. The Mandinka kingdom in Mali or Mandan existed several centuries before Sundiata's unification as a small state to the south of the Soninke Empire in Ouagadougou. The Soninke Empire is better known as the Ghana Empire. The region is made up of mountains, savannas, and forests that provide ideal protection and resources for the hunting population. People who did not live in the mountains formed small city-states such as Toran, Karbar and Niani. Almost every Malian emperor of the Keita dynasty traces his lineage back to Bilal, the muaddin of the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad. During the Middle Ages, it was customary for Christian and Muslim rulers to trace their bloodline to a figure of great historical importance. Although the lineage of the Keita dynasty is dubious, each oral accountant provides a list of Keita's rulers from Lawalo, allegedly one of Bilal's 7 children who settled in Mali, to Mahan Kon Fata, Sundiata Keita's father. Kangaba province. During the height of Ouagadougou's reign, the land of Mandan became one of its provinces. The Mandan city-state of Karbar, modern Kangaba, became the capital and name of the province. During the early 11th century, Mandinka kings called Fama ruled Mandan from Karbar in the name of Ghana. 12 kingdoms. Ouagadougou's power over Mandan was hindered by the 14-year war against the Murabitun, Muslims, mostly of Berber descent from North Africa. The Murabitun general, Abu Bekr, captured and burned Ouagadougou's capital, Kumbi Sala, in 1076, ending his domination of the region. However, the Murabitun were unable to defend this territory, which was quickly recaptured by the weakened Soninke. The province of Kangaba, free from Soninke and Berber influence, was broken up into 12 kingdoms with their own Mahan, meaning prince, or farmer. Mandan is divided in two, with the Dodougou region in the northeast and the Cree region in the southwest. The small kingdom of Niani is one of several Cree territories in Mandan. 3. Mali Imperial. There are 21 known Manses of the Malian Empire after Mari Jata I and about 2 or 3 others that remain to be revealed. The name of the leader appears in history through the Jali and modern descendants of the Keita dynasty in Kangaba. What distinguished these rulers from the founder, apart from the historical role in establishing the state, was the transformation of Mandan Kurufa into the Mandan Empire. Not content to just dominate the Manding people who were united by the victory of Mari Jata I, the Manses also later conquered and annexed the Pule, Wolof, Sera, Bamana, Songhai, Tuareg, and other nations into a large empire. Jata lineage 1250–1275 edit Mari Jata's first 3 successors all claim by blood rights or something close to him. This 25-year period saw tremendous income for mankind and the beginning of fierce internal competition that nearly ended the empire. '4. The income of the Mali Kingdom. The Mali Empire thrived on trade above all else. This empire had 3 large gold mines on its borders, unlike the Ghana Empire, which was only a transit point for gold. This empire taxed every ounce of gold or salt that entered its borders. In the early 14th century, Mali was the source of nearly half of the Old World gold exported from the gold in Bambic, Bor and Galam. There is no standard currency, but several forms are important for the region. Gold. The lump of gold is in the exclusive possession of Mansa, and is illegal to sell within its borders. All gold was immediately given to the imperial treasury with a return of the equivalent value of gold dust. Gold dust has been weighed and bagged for use since the reign of the Ghana Empire. Mali borrowed the practice to stem material inflation, as this was important to the region. The most common measurement of gold is the ambiguous mythical 4.5 grams of gold. The term was used in exchange for the dinar, although it is not clear if coinage was used in this empire. Gold dust was used throughout the empire, but was not valued equally in all regions. Copper was also a valuable commodity in the Mali Empire. Bronze, which was traded in bars, was mined from Takeda in the north and traded in the south for gold. Contemporary sources claim 60 bronze ingots were traded for 100 dinars. '5. Military. The number and frequency of conquests at the end of the 13th century and during the 14th century marked the inheritance of the Kolonkan and/or military development. With no special Mansa ever rewarded with setting the Manding war machine, the military could not develop until the legendary sections declared by its people without steady income and stable government. Strategically, the Mali Empire endured from 1275 until the first Kolonkan Mansa in 1300. Strength. The Mali Empire had a professional armed force to guard its borders. The whole country was mobilized with each tribe required to provide an age quota for male soldiers. 13 contemporary historians today during the height and decline of the Mali Empire record the Malian armed forces as numbering 100,000 with 10,000 of this number serving as cavalry. 13 with the help of the tribes on the river. These armed forces can be distributed throughout the kingdom in short warnings. '6. Kingdom territory. The Mali Empire reached its greatest extent under Mansa Lay. During this period, Mali comprised almost the entire area between the Sahara Desert and the coastal forest. This empire stretched from the Atlantic Ocean to modern Niamey in Niger. By 1350, the empire had an area of approximately 439,400 square kilometers. The empire also reached its largest population during the Lay period by controlling 400 cities and villages from various regions and ethnicities. Scholars of that era claimed it took no less than a year to traverse the empire from west to east. During this period, only the Mongolian Empire had a larger area. The empire's enormous dramatic rise called for a turn from the Mandan Kurufa organization of 3 states with 12 colonies. This model is a remnant from the time of Mansa Munsa's pilgrimage to Egypt. According to Al-Umari, who interviewed a Berber who had lived in Niani for 35 years, there were 14 provinces, colonial kingdoms. In Al-Umari's account, he lists only the following 13 provinces. Ghana, this province refers to the remnants of the Ghana Empire, Zagan or Zafan, another name for Diafunu Tiraka or Turanka, between Ghana and Tadmeka Tekrur, in the third cataract of the Senegal River, north of the Dial of Sanagana, named after a tribe living in this region north of the Senegal River, Bambuk or Bambughu gold mining area, Zagatabana Damura or Babatra Damura Zaga in Niger, Kabara or Kabura also in Niger, Barakri or Barahuri Gao or Korkor province inhabited by Songhai Mali or Mandan, capital of the province from which the empire's name derives. The downfall of the Mali Empire. Mansa's defeat gets Morocco's attention and can save him from Songhai's fate. It was Mandinka himself who brought about the destruction of his empire. Around 1610, Mahmud IV died. Tradition holds that he had 3 children who fought against the rest of the Mandan. No one ruled Mandan after Mahmud IV's death, resulting in the end of the Mali Empire forever. Mandan divided. The old core of the empire was divided into its 3 powers. Kangaba, the de facto capital of Mandan since the era of the last emperor, became the capital of the northern part. The Joma region, ruled by Sigwiri, controlled the central region, which included Niani. Bamana or Amana, southwest of Joma, became the southern part with its capital at Korusa in modern Guinea. Each ruler used the title Mansa, but their power was limited to their own territory. Despite this split, Mandan Kurufa survived in the 17th century. The 3 countries fought each other as much if not more than they did against foreigners, but rivals stopped it with an invasion. This trend will continue until the colonial era against the enemy Tukula from the west. Bamana Jihad in 1630, Bamana of Jenne declared their holy war invasion against all Muslim powers in modern Mali. They attacked Moroccan Pasha in Timanjuk and Mansa Mandan. In 1645, the Bamana invaded Mandan and took control of both the Niger coast to Niani. This campaign expelled the Mandan and crushed hope as the Mansa cooperated to liberate their land. The Mandinka power pardoned from this campaign was Kangaba. Niani's mastery Mama Mahan, Kangaba's Mansa, campaigned against Bamana in 1667 and attacked Segu. Segu, protected by Bitan Kulubali, managed to survive. Mama Mahan was forced to retreat to Kangaba. Either as a counterattack or a pre-planned offensive move against the rest of Mali, the Bamana destroyed Niani in 1670. That's a brief history of the Kingdom of Mali, which is quoted from Wikipedia.com. Hope it is useful. Thank you.